Hello lovely people, and welcome to today's video in which I am reviewing Wonderstruck by Selznick. I had originally intended to include this in my mini reviews where I was talking about books that were kind of like time expanding, to do with time, whether it was like generational stories or going back and forth, did something interesting with time. And I forgot to include it in that video, so I think I talked about 4 books instead of 5 potentially. Me over here, hello. I don't know where my copy is. I've put it somewhere that makes sense. I cannot see that place, or I cannot get to that place currently because there's a lot of stuff in front of my red bookshelves. So yeah, sod's law is probably going to be that I find it after recording this video, which will be very annoying. But hey ho. So let's get into this story. Let's tell you a little bit about who we meet, the characters we meet along the way, the friends we meet along the way, and what the story is about to do. I must say, the title always reminds me of that Taylor Swift song. I remember I was in RE one time and my teacher just started singing it and I felt like I was in love. That sounds so inappropriate. She had a voice of an angel and she was just singing it to us. I don't know if it was like a end of term thing and we was just blasting music, but she sang so beautifully. And every time I hear it, it's got like an Irish twang in my head, because that's how my teacher sang. She was Irish, so she sang like that. Anyway, Wonderstruck. Come on, don't leave me like this. I thought we had this figured out. Anyway, let's get into the blurb. So Ben and Rose secretly wish for better lives. Ben longs for the father he's never known, and Rose dreams of a mysterious actress whose life she chronicles in a scrapbook. When Ben discovers a puzzling clue in his mother's room and Rose reads an enticing headline in the newspaper, both children set out alone on desperate quests to find what they're missing. Set 50 years apart, these two independent stories, Ben's told in words, Rose's in pictures, with back and forth in symmetry. So I ended up giving this a 5 out of 5 stars. I read it after reading The Invention of Hugo Cabaret, which I think I might have read the year prior to this, and with Wonderstruck I read, I think, back in 2024, but it's still been like drifting in my mind, so I knew I needed to sit and actually do that video that I'd promised myself I would, I guess. I have a quote at the top of the review here that says, Ben wished the world was organised by the Dewey Decimal System. That way you'd be able to find whatever you were looking for, like the meaning of your dream or your dad. I'm pretty sure I read it around the time that I started my new job in the library, so that hit home, and then some other things made it hit home even more so. I thought it was such a fantastic quote. So in terms of the story, I thought it was phenomenal. It was a beautiful, like, inspirational story with coming of age themes, and at the heart of it is finding yourself, with also a lovely dose of education about the deaf culture. I felt like the story being told in 2 different timelines was so artfully done, and I loved how they eventually weaved to cross over to like the present day and how these characters met, or their stories entwined in an impactful way. I wasn't expecting anything to transpire the way it did, and in fact I remember around the 200-page mark, story like plots developed and I was left absolutely like aghast, but like just shocked at how shocking it was. I just was not expecting the reveals that we got and the depth of the details that created such a fantastic story, you know. Both Rose's and Ben's stories were absolutely beautiful to read, you know, individually, completely on their own, they were fantastic. Together, they were so powerful. The characters we met along the way and their individual backgrounds and what they learnt about themselves was so inspiring. I felt like from an educational standpoint, I learnt a lot about the American 1920s film industry, deaf culture during that time in the USA. And then little pockets of interest such as places like Gunflint Lake and Hoboken, which to me, I'd never, you know, you say something like that to me, it would mean nothing. Like, it would go over my head, I wouldn't know what you're talking about. But now if I'd hear that, I'd think of this book, you know. The exploration of the themes and the places was incredibly thoughtful and insightful. And of course, I can't forget to mention the magic of libraries and museums, and that as almost as a character itself within this story. Wonderstruck left me, do I dare say it, wonderstruck. I had the best time reading this. It was stellar. If you haven't read anything by Brian Selznick yet, honestly, give it a go. I think this is probably a great place to start, but equally the invention of Hugo Cabaret is also amazing. Anyway, that is it for today's video. Let me know if you read this book yourself and what you thought of it. But for now, I shall catch you in another video soon. Bye.